Board of Education to order, roll call.
Kathy McGrath,
Here.
John Dobbin,
Here,
Dana Duncan,
Here.
Carrie Hildebrandt, I am here, Leo Thomascar. Here.
right, next item is consider approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Conduct reorganization of the board. Elect the president. I'll hand that off to you, I guess. To
Okay.
take nominations and
So-
all that good stuff.
I will entertain motion for nominations for president.
I nominate John Dobbin.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any other nominations? Then I will entertain a motion for unanimous consent.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have unanimous consent.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to elect vice president. Any nominations for vice president?
I nominate Dana Duncan.
Second.
A nomination and second. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll request unanimous consent. Dana Duncan, vice president. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Dana is vice president.
Abstained. Anybody, or to quote,
Oh, yeah.
to quote Groucho Marx, I would never join an organization that would have me as a member.
All right, next item is to elect clerk. Any nominations for clerk? I will nominate Carrie Hildebrandt.
Second.
Motion and second for Carrie Hildebrandt. Any other nominations for clerk? Any other nominations? Hearing none. Request unanimous consent. Carrie Hildebrandt, office of clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carrie is our clerk. Next item is elect treasurer. Any nominations for treasurer?
I nominate Kathy McGrath.
Second.
Nomination and second. Any other nominations? Third time, any other nominations? Hearing none, request unanimous consent for Kathy McGrath, treasurer. All those in favor say aye.
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 abstain.
All those opposed? Kathy is treasurer. Thank you, everyone.
It's deja vu all over again.
Next item is a report from student representatives, student recognition.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Mia and I'm a senior.
I'm Easton, I'm also a senior. Yesterday, the choir had one of their final choir concerts of the 2024 school year, including a piece that required the choir to be divided into 8 parts, sang it all in Latin. We also had State Soul Ensemble over the weekend, which included 12 students from both high school and middle school. The high school band concert will take place next Friday on May 17th. The day after, on May 18th, the high school band will be traveling to Zion Benton Township High School to perform in the Music in the Parks Festival. They will spend the rest of their day together at Six Flags Great America. Drama Club is currently working on a variety show that will be performed on May 24th. The show will feature a variety of skits written entirely by the own Drama Club students. The choir will also perform a few songs at that concert.
In forensics, we had 6 students in high school perform at the state competition in late April. Each of our competitors earned a silver medal for their performances. For sports, the baseball team is 11-3 in their season so far. They are 6-3 in conference play. Their next matchup is tomorrow against the Rochelle Hornets at Palin Field. For girls softball, we are 8-6 right now. We have 17 players, 3 seniors, no juniors, and the rest are underclassmen. We are getting better every day, teaching the underclassmen how to play their hardest and show them what softball is about. There are 7 games left until regionals, and we are beyond excited to play our hearts out. We also have a tournament coming up this weekend in Tri-County, and we are grateful to have this opportunity to continue growing.
The track and field team this year has also had one of its biggest number in athletes that we've had for a while, with numbers doubling since past years and 2 seniors graduating this year, myself and Javon. We're hoping to train and have more younger classmen ready for the upcoming years. The conference for us will take place this Friday at Tri-County. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. All right. Moving on to the next item, designate board representative to CISA 5 annual representative convention.
So we did do this
We did do
last
it.
month,
Yeah.
but because it has to be, you cannot do it until after you've reorganized. So I had to put it on the agenda again.
John, we have to
Oh.
do it
Okay,
again.
so we just gotta do it again.
So now it really is deja vu.
Yes, it is. It's
I
not,
know,
If you were wondering why, that was
John Dowan as our representative.
I second it.
I third it.
Then a motion and a second. All those in favor, or any discussion?
Are you kidding?
All right,
thank you.
all
can
those in
have it.
favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. Now, moving on to the president's report. All board members are in attendance. And our next board meeting is, I believe, June 12th. It says Monday, June 12th.
Oh, it's June, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Moving on to administrative reports, elementary principal report, Principal Vina.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The elementary school character trait for the month of May, our final month of the year, is creativity. Creativity is discussed each day during our morning announcements and during our classroom morning meetings. Elementary students who exemplify creativity will be nominated by their teachers and recognized school-wide at the end of the month. We have some very creative students here at the elementary school. This Friday morning, we have an exciting event. This Friday, May 10th, the Port Edwards Parent Organization will be hosting Muffins with Me from 6:45 until 7:30 in the elementary cafeteria. That is an RSVP type event. School board members are welcome to attend. We had a muffin event in November, and we had well over 100 people in attendance. It's a great way to get our families in the building, seeing some teachers as they come in, seeing our building. It's a great PR thing for our school district. So Muffins with Me this Friday morning, starting at 6:45. On Thursday, May 16th, 5th grade math teacher, Mrs. Ellie Bogdan, will be taking a team of 4th and 5th grade students to a regional 24 challenge math competition. 24 Math is a unique math teaching tool designed to sharpen students' mental math, their number sense, critical thinking, problem solving, and pattern sensing. Port Edwards students will be competing on stage at the Wisconsin Rapids PAC against teams from Wisconsin Rapids and Nakusa. Best of luck to Mrs. Bogdan's 4th and 5th grade team. That is on May 16th. One day before that, on May 15th, Mrs. Winters and Mrs. Vitello are scheduled to attend the Early Literacy Curriculum Fair in Wisconsin Dells. This event is being hosted by CISA 5 and will give school districts in our CISA the opportunity to review elementary ELA curriculum materials that are in line with Act 20. And a little bit more of an update about Act 20. The staff of our elementary school will be following the Keys to Beginning Reading program to stay compliant with Act 20. The Keys program consists of 11 learning modules, which will be done over the course of the next school year. We are having a 30-minute kickoff to start the Keys program on the last day of school for teachers, which is Thursday, June 6th. We're going to have one mandatory 4-hour training for teaching staff on August 12th, and the remainder of the training will be taking place during in-service and over the summer of the next calendar year. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Next, middle school, high school principal report. Principal Croto.
Good evening. I'll start with our staff for the school. Couple of things with our teachers. It's National Appreciation Week for teachers, so it always kind of lifts us a little bit when we do activities. So I'm doing trivia in the everyday different hours, and the kids are participating and trying to earn things for their teachers. And boy, we are having a lot of fun. I wrote personal thank you notes, so I don't have to come to the board, but I wish I would have done this earlier. When I went to El Cafe and Swiftwater and Dunkin', they're like, oh, here. And they just gave me, like, I went with my money to pay, and they're like, no. So we have so many supportive people, local people. So the lady from Swiftwater said, oh, so many people come to Port Edwards, and I really appreciate that. So just a public thank you to all of those people who support us, and it's been fun. So we wrote in May, we were writing our last session of curriculum, and talking with Kathy and meeting with the head committee. We have made so much progress, and I don't feel like in many years that we have done this. There's a purpose, and I think we're writing to use the curriculum. So that is great. If you ever see any teachers, ask them about that. We are today, the last couple of days, we've made a lot of headway in the schedule. Ms. Moore, myself, and Mrs. Neves are doing the schedule, meeting with teachers. We have 2 leadership changes, as you know. Shane Steltenpohl's here, he's gonna take my job. All excited about that, and we are staying internal, and Miss Jody Waltenberg is going to be our special ed director. They know the community, they know the people, so I'm passionate, they're passionate about everything, and I'm really excited to see what they do. Because of that, it's leaving 2 big holes to fill in the middle school department, so we'll start interviewing for that. We're working with the schedule. It's a good time to make some changes that we wanted to. So we're meeting with all the teachers. The teachers they're excited actually. They will leave school knowing what they're teaching, so if they want to prep over the summer, they'll be ready. So good things happening there. The last thing I wanted to tell you about teachers is about Beth Wilkham. She's done this for a number of years, and prior to this, the DPI picks people to study for state standards, and she donated her time. One time she went for social studies. It's a big commitment. They go 3-4 days, and she went for social studies even though she wasn't teaching it. She has taught it in the past, but she's just good about that, statistics and data. Last year she went, and it was about math curriculum. This time it's specific. Let me read the DPI letter that she got. Based on Ms. Wilkham's background, knowledge, and qualifications, she has been selected by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction to participate in standard setting for the Wisconsin Forward Math Exam for 4 days in June. As a standard setting, participants will be trained in all aspects of the standard setting process. Educators will recommend cut scores, which will determine the cutoffs for minimal, basic, and proficient and advanced on the exam. Working in small groups, participants will discuss the knowledge and skills expected of students at each performance level, consider students' performance and test questions, and make independent cut score recommendations. This will be her 3rd time that she was selected by the DPI to work on the Forward exam. The first time she participated in standard setting 8th grade social studies. The second, she was selected to review new test items that appeared on the 7th and 8th grade test, and this time will be standard setting for 7th and 8th grade math. So that's phenomenal to have somebody represent Port Edwards and be getting letters from the DPI. So she will be going in June to Wisconsin Dells, and this was the first time they're going to give a little stipend to the teachers for spending their time. Last 2 times it was all on our own 3-4 days. So that is teacher related, staff related. The kids are counting down the days, maybe the teachers, but we're having a good time. These kids talk a lot about high school, but I want to do a couple things about middle school. Mr. Joe Hintz, our middle school student council advisor, had their last dance last Friday. A lot of fun. They dressed up like it was a formal. They are like bringing in on the formals like the high school kids. It's phenomenal. Like kids had tuxes and everything. I was like, wow. Yeah, I know. They're excited for high school. Next, We had a number of kids, Beth Welcome took kids to Pittsville for the math competition. Wesley Deffelson, Kelson Casey, Titus Dorn, Aaron Mingo, Emma Baumgart, Miles Hansen, Savannah Schmelzer, Nicole Combs, Aaron Baumgart, Ellie Bender, Adriana Ridgway, and Paige Schaefer. So excellent, and in a couple years, they'll be up there and Deb will be taking them. So excellent experiences, middle school kids too. The last thing I wanted to share with you, she thought the board meeting was at 6. I asked Mrs. P, yesterday she came down and it was Callie and Jen and I, and she started telling us about the solo ensemble and the results. They get them at 12 o'clock noon, and we didn't know all this. And she said, so we got them just now. And she came down to the office and she was bawling. And I was like, wow. And if you were at the concert last night, she shared this. I asked Easton and Mia to stay. So she wrote this up in words and she gave it to Lisa because she wasn't done and I wanted to run home. And she said, just forget it. I want it to be in my words. I'll come back. But she thought it was at 6 o'clock. I just texted her and she said, just read it. By June, it'll be old. So I do want to read it. It's a little bit long. She would have been here explaining it. But until you hear all this, you don't realize, like, oh, they got an award. And then at the end, Jen and I were like, oh my God, we're hugging her. And it was a big deal. So please pretend I'm her and enjoy. The Wisconsin School Music Association holds solo ensemble competition throughout the state every year. Students compete first at the district level, then the top performers move on to compete against at the state level. At the state level, students strive to earn another top score. And for most performers, that is where solo ensemble ends. She would have been more dramatic. But for a very, very talented few, there are 2 more possible awards. Every judge at State Solo Ensemble has an option to bestow an exemplary recognition award. Throughout his or her day, if the judge hears something that really stands out to them, they mark the performer's scorecard as nominated, but then they set it aside. Again, she was a little bit more dramatic, right? At the end of their judging day, the judge will sort through their nominations and choose one performance to receive the exemplary recognition award. To be nominated for this award, it's an unimaginable award or honor. To be chosen for the award, it is less than 1% that it occurs. In Miss P's 40 plus years being part of Solo Ensemble, she has only had 2 students ever get nominated for Exemplary Performance Award, and she has never had anyone chosen to receive it. But this year, she said, her totals changed. Solo Ensemble began at the district level. Wisconsin has 18,000 students compete this year. Less than 50% of those students qualify to go on and compete again at the state level. Early May, 8,700 students competed at State Solo Ensemble. All 8,700 were eligible to receive the Exemplary Recognition Award, but less than 5% of them were actually nominated. Of those nominated, only 427 were vocalists. Are you keeping up? Okay. All of those 427 vocalists, 3 of them are students at John Edwards High School.
Wow.
Out of 427 vocal nominations, only 58 were musical theater events. Jack Schrader was one of them from Port Edwards. Out of 427 vocal nominations, only 21 students were tenors. Emmanuel Van Lysel was one of them. Out of 427 vocal nominations, only 16 were duets. Jack Schrader, and you have our very own, stand up, Easton Gash was one of them. I asked him to stay just to listen to this. These nominations are literally a lifetime accomplishment. Miss P and the students, everyone, are all so proud of Easton, Jack, and Emmanuel. But it doesn't stop there. Wait, I didn't know that. After the nominations were posted, the list of those chosen to receive the Exemplary Recognition Award were posted. The pool of 427 vocal nominations were reduced to 166 vocal winners. One of those 166 award winners, only 4 were duets. Easton Gash and Jack Schrader have literally made John Edwards High School history by being the first ever recipients of an Exemplary Recognition Award for their duet performance during State Solo Ensemble. So, we are so proud of them. I think the important part of this, and I told Tammy this yesterday, oh my gosh, the middle school and or the music and band department, and now I'm leaving, but they have made their statement. Everybody has found like Eason and Mia, and it's been so nice to see some of those seniors go out, and lead. They have bought in sweatshirts. They're at everything now performing. They're very comfortable out in the middle of the gym singing. They're at the football fields singing the national anthem, and then the band performs. Like they become kind of like just like a team everywhere, and the parents are so supportive. And like I said, they've got their own little sweatshirts, and they've just made a statement. They're here. They're dominating things. So, and it's so nice and fun to see that. Those two teachers eat lunch with kids. They open up the area. Their music area, so a lot of the music they're just camaraderie, right? And so they've done a phenomenal job. Do you have anything to say, Mia or Easton?
They're both wonderful instructors and teachers for us, and we're grateful to have them, and I don't think we would be where we are without them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They lead us
So-
in a very good way.
9 seniors stood up at the end and they were taking pictures. We've never had that kind of number in leadership in those departments, so that's been wonderful. So we're really having a good week and a good month. So we are. Any questions?
Good.
Thank you, Miss P.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. I'll tell her to watch that.
But we are so proud of you, and proud of our teacher difference,
It does.
and that is just extraordinary and wonderful. We don't want you to leave.
What did the judge ask you in the middle of I was told this, Christopher Gash followed them all over and he accompanied us last night. And he said, yeah, and then he went to solo ensemble and he said in the middle of it, one of the judges said to Eason, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? And what did Eason answer?
Electrical apprenticeship.
Yeah, what a shame. Are you going to change your mind? You never know. You may.
That is
You
true.
may, because you would be an awesome teacher, and we would love to have you in the profession.
Think of the marketing,
Oh,
the
yeah.
singing electrician.
He's gonna be like, why did I say?
Stephen Sondheim died, there's a vacancy.
All right, very good. Next item, district administrator report. Jim?
Donna certainly touched on it already, and we're all fully aware. May 6th through the 10th is National Teacher Appreciation Week. And as I mentioned in an email today, it's Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. One of the famous sayings in education is, we are all teachers. Whether you are serving lunch, whether you are a custodian, you're a bus driver, we are all teachers because we all work with children. And this week we are all incredibly appreciative of all of our staff members for the great work that they do. We don't want it to sound cliche, because it's not. We have incredible staff members here. Day in and day out, they are working hard. They develop very personal connections with our children and with each other. And I'm very thankful and very proud to be a part of this team. So thank you to all of our staff this week. Thank you very much. Moving on to some other topics, an update for the board. 2024 federal ratings for a couple of federal initiatives, the IDEA, Individual with Disabilities Act, and ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. That data was released on April 23rd. If public school districts do not reach a passing threshold, they are put on a plan of improvement. I'm very happy to report that we significantly passed the threshold for both IDEA and ESSA for the current school year. So very positive, no improvement plan is required. The UW Stevens Point Haru Foundation will be hosting its spring meeting this Friday morning, May 10th. Our district was a recipient of a $10,000 grant last October from the foundation, and we will be reapplying once again to help financially support district initiatives. On Thursday, May 23rd, Kelly Banke from WEA will be holding an after-school meeting in the high school, at which you will be reviewing the state of Wisconsin retirement system for all interested employees. It is an optional meeting for employees. They've been asked to RSVP, and please bring with your retirement statements, your ETF statements that you receive. That's May 23rd after school at the high school. On Thursday, May 2nd, last Thursday, reps from both CISA 5 and CISA 10 met with district leadership to review our scheduled technology upgrades. Of course, CISA 10 helped to lead and guide our referendum. CISA 5 is who we contract our IT staff through. And we want to make sure that we are in unison with our technology upgrades, our technology purchasing, our technology contractors. So we had our initial meeting last Thursday. We are going to be meeting the first Tuesday of each month as a group to make sure we stay on the same page as we do our technology upgrades throughout the referendum. Mrs. Schroeder also referenced this. Mrs. Stebbins-Hintz is continuing with curriculum. She has 12 curriculum writing meetings scheduled through the month of May. Our final curriculum leadership team meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 30th. We will be reviewing the work that's been done this year and look ahead to 24-25. And finally, certainly one of the most culminating events, some of the most culminating events of the school year, graduation practice for the class of 2024 is scheduled for May 31st at about 9:00 a.m. Following that, there will be an elementary building walkthrough for our graduates, and that's going to start at about 10:15 a.m. I mention that because that is always an enjoyable event, watching our seniors come back and take a last trip through Ed Hoyer Elementary. So that'll be about 10:15 on May 31st. Thank you.
I don't remember us doing that.
It's a fairly new
Back in the day,
thing,
yeah.
fairly new thing. Yeah, in the last 10 years,
I didn't think we did
More
that.
than that.
maybe a
And
little
they
more.
had that in the kindergarten room and they take a
Yeah.
picture of the kids that have
Okay.
been there for a long time.
Yeah. Great, yeah, it's a good thing.
15 years,
Yeah.
ish, 18. Who's counting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reminder.
Right.
All right, questions and comments from people in attendance? Did anyone sign the sheet
I
to
did.
speak?
Jen did. I don't know.
All right, you got the floor. We'll start with you.
Do you want me to stand up?
So I want to make a distinction because I'm here later to talk as union vice president, but this is just me talking right now without any input from anybody else. So I'm speaking to you tonight regarding agenda item 18, which is the paid time off piece, and the possibility of updating the current paid time off policy. I have some concerns about continuing to allow unpaid time off as it's worked this year. I was at a meeting this August or September, I can't remember which one, when the subject of unpaid time off was first discussed at this board. I know at the time the board felt that unpaid time off should be limited, and therefore the board went to a model that asked employees to come to the board for approval. While I know this was the first year of implementation and sometimes change takes time, I am hopeful that unpaid time will continue to be limited moving forward. I also have concerns about moving to a model which allows more paid time off. I don't know what's being proposed tonight, but the amount of paid time off is obviously up for discussion since it's an agenda item. I did email Mr. Bean about a month ago, and I know he plans to include my commentary in the board packet. Since I feel strongly, I did want to address you directly. I understand that special circumstances arrive in any employee's life. That may mean that employee needs more than 2 personal days. I fully understand that. There's family weddings, once in a lifetime vacations, major household issues. We've all been there. We call Carrie for that. That said, I feel that for the most part, our time off as school district employees can be worked into other times during the year. While teaching staff put in extra hours in the summer, I know this. Ultimately, we can use a lot of our vacation. We can go on vacations during that summertime. We work 9 months out of the year. We have spring break, we have Christmas break, we have every holiday off, an extra day around Thanksgiving, and the calendar committee has actively worked to build in an extra day off here and there to provide a break for employees and kids. I fail to understand why days off can't typically be worked into those timeframes that we already have off. When our teachers and counselors are gone, it directly impacts students' education. We do have some quality subs, but I think we can all agree that a sub doesn't provide the same education that a teacher can. I was a teacher. I'm obviously very familiar with our kids, but I can tell you when I go and sub in the high school math classroom, and Deb can tell you this as well, I'm not doing that justice, right? I'm trying to recall things from my high school or college years. It's been a while. And so I'm not able to provide that same quality of education for our kids. When days off are extended out for days on end, sometimes full weeks, our kids' educations, they are negatively impacted. This is the entire reason we are here. Beyond educational impacts, regular staff being absent impacts behavior. Many of our students thrive with consistency and they're thrown off when staff are gone. This impacts students, subs, and the staff who have to step in to manage the situations that arise. I also fear that adding additional paid time off or allowing unpaid time it ties into our current subs shortage. We know there's a huge sub shortage. This is something we're consistently talking about. So a lot of our subs end up having to be covered internally on people's prep times. Recently, we had a staff member who lost 3 of 5 preps during a week covering classes that needed a sub. When the subs are covered internally, teachers are losing prep time. It not only impacts the teacher, but obviously that impacts students as well because teachers don't have that same time to prep. I fear increasing PTO will increase the number of absences, the budget line for subs, and the frustration of staff who are already subbing often. If we continue to allow for unpaid days or extra time off, we are doing this on the backs of the employees who consistently show up. While trying to accommodate those who want extra days off, I think we need to be careful not to negatively impact other employees. I've continued to use the word unpaid days. Frankly, that term is a bit of a misnomer. While staff are taking unpaid days, they may not be getting their salary pay, but the district is still paying for insurance and we're paying for sub pay. Over spring break, a group of us did canvassing, asking our community to vote yes on the referendum. One of the things I consistently said, not only this year, but 5 years ago, was how great a job our district had done with finances, managing to balance what is best for our students educationally with what is best for our taxpayers, all while being able to retain quality staff. Overall, I still agree with that statement. However, allowing employees to be gone extra unpaid days or extending that PTO, while the district is still paying insurance and sub pay on those, it just doesn't seem right. We just passed an operational referendum and I would hate to see that money go towards supporting that. To be clear, I don't begrudge anyone their sick days. Illnesses happen, pregnancies happen, significant diagnoses can cause the need for extended time off. I understand that. This can't be helped and it is our responsibility to rally around those employees when those events occur. Employees need mental health days at times, I get it. This profession, it's hard. Our kids and families are coming to us with weighty problems and we care, so it can be incredibly overwhelming. I accept that and I know that sometimes people need a day away to reset and take care of themselves. Again, I support staff members who need to make that decision for themselves. We have 10 sick days each year, 2 personal days. I believe there used to be language that extra unpaid days could be approved once every 3 years. I'd really like to see us move back to something along those lines. For example, maybe employees are given 6 to 8 personal days over a 3-year period. Once you use them, they're gone. I recognize this conversation is happening not only in our district, but in others. I know workforces and expectations continue to change. While I feel open to some type of change, I wanted to raise a few of my concerns. Thank you for your time and for listening. I recognize that each one of you and Mr. Vina ultimately has the district's best interests at heart. I know these decisions as a board are not easy. I've learned over the past year just how difficult it can be to be on a board, and I appreciate that all that you do. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I do. I know this isn't easy making these types of decisions. Thank you for considering my thoughts, and ultimately I'll respect any decision you make. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, wishes to speak?
I know I checked no originally, and I wasn't originally planning on speaking, but I'm going to pretty much back what Jen said. She had a lot of truth in all she said. One of my biggest things is, as a shop teacher, my prep time, I can't do, or I could do curriculum during my prep time. I do that at home. There's things that I can't do at home, like manage my shop, maintain my shop, cut materials for students, and such. Get ready for that day. And being called off of my prep time because somebody else decides to take an extra day, be it sick or not, be it a personal day or a sick day or whatever, negatively impacts me as my job. And it definitely has a trickle-down effect to my students. So I definitely agree with what Jen says. I am definitely almost at wit's end here with the amount of time people take off and a lot of times it's the same people that are taking off the same amount of days. So, very frustrating.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Number 8, consider approval of the minutes of past meeting of April 10th.
So move.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, consider approval of financial reports. Any gifts? No gifts this month, so seek a motion to approve financial.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Discussion?
I just had one little comment. I always look at the receipts and expenditures and debit. And I just remembered again, I understand now why we have to have a referendum. When I looked at the total number from equalization formula and how much the federal government provides, when they have set so many expectations of us.
Unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd be, if you wanna look, I'm not gonna get into the numbers, but you'd be shocked at how little money the federal government actually provides, considering the mandates they impose.
No argument.
You are right, Dana.
So, and any other discussion? All right, take a roll call.
Leo.
Aye.
Carrie, aye. Dana.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Kathy.
Aye.
Financial reports are approved. No unfinished business tonight, so moving on to new business. Consider approval of resolution establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $7,300,000 general obligation promissory notes.
So moved.
Yep.
I just like the idea of being, pushing forward, spending $7 million.
So with that discussion, are we asking for discussion?
Is there a
With that
second?
discussion, we will bring forward,
I'll second.
okay, we'll bring forward Debbie Brunette. Welcome Debbie, we know Debbie well. Debbie has helped guide us through our referendum. Debbie works prepared, of course. And Debbie is going to be giving us some explanation and much more information about, this term, the general obligation promissory notes. Welcome Debbie.
Thank you. Good evening. Good to see you again. We can just end right there if you'd like. So tonight on your agenda is the resolution to approve, is the ask to approve a parameters resolution. And what this is it sets the guidelines as to which the debt can be issued. And the reason why it's a parameters resolution, we're asking you to set the guidelines, is that with these guidelines, we can, once all the steps are done, the rating call done, the due diligence call complete, we can go to the market and issue the debt. Without a parameters resolution, we have to wait until the next board meeting to do it, which would be in June. And with this parameters resolution, if the market sticks, rates have come down in the municipal world in the last couple of weeks. So we're trying to get in and take advantage of that because they had been rising. So we're hoping to get into the market end of May instead of having to wait until June. So this resolution provides guidelines. It says if the rate is less than 5 1/4, so we used 5 1/2 for the referendum. Current, we did an issue earlier in this week, it was closer to 4.2, so hopefully it comes in much less than that, but it says as long as it's below the 5 1/4 on the day of the sale, that either Jim or Lisa could approve that and move forward and then report back to you in June as to the results of the sale. Also important to note with this is that your local bank will have a chance to bid on this as well. So our underwriters reach out and ask them if they want to be a part of, they likely wouldn't purchase all 7.3 million, they would purchase a portion of it. But they are invited to participate, and I think that's really important, especially in districts this size, and we want to make sure that they can be involved if they'd like to. So with your approval, we keep going with our steps, and then we would report back next month.
Any other discussion?
Probably a good idea to go ahead and do it because the Fed meets February, or June 12th.
I
and
don't think it's
They may
real
make
any
some
lower.
action, and it may,
Trickle down effect.
yeah.
So
Sure, it would drop.
we have a motion from Dana.
We have a motion
Yeah,
and a
I
second.
John.
Yeah.
So, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Has to do with the bond market and inflation rate.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank
Why,
you.
why the municipal
Yes.
bonds has to do with the inflation rate and the bond market in general.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can come in June if you want to, just.
Just to visit.
It's a really nice drive, isn't it?
It is, especially on days like today.
Yeah.
Right, today was a nice driving day.
Thank you so much.
Oh, windows
Thank you.
all open, moon
Alright,
roof open.
next item is consider approval of 24-25 security health plan.
As I mentioned in my memo, Lisa and I met in mid-April with representatives for our security health plan. They provided us with a very respectful renewal rate, 5.4%. A standard level that we typically budget for a renewal is 5%. We oftentimes don't see that. There are school districts, if you keep up with the news, that are seeing 20 and 30% renewal rates. That's even with some plan design changes. Our renewal rate came back at 5.4, which is, again, very, very palatable. Lisa, did you want to share any details
The
about
only
it?
thing I did wanna make note of is that we did have to increase, there's no plan design changes, but we did have to increase the deductible because you have, the IRS, it will be non-compliant for the IRS for the, to have an HSA.
Yeah.
Now to be compliant with the IRS, your deductible has to be 3,200, 6,400 instead of 3,600. They keep raising that high deductible threshold.
To maintain
So if we would have
HSA.
stayed at the 3,600, we would not be able to, we would not be able to contribute to an HSA. That's
Does the
not
HSA
considered,
number go up this next year too? Isn't that why it's adjusted, because the amount that you can put into
put
the
it, well, you know, and
HSA
it does
goes up?
go
think
up
so.
every year, it does
Yeah,
go up every
so
year,
as one
yes.
rises, you have to.
But, I mean, I think we have to do that, I mean, that we don't wanna lose that HSA piece, so.
At least there's a relatively small
So-
increase to the.
And just as an additional note, our vision and dental remain the same. However, we are looking into a possible change in our, we're gonna do a little.
Plan
little
design
Plan design,
for dental.
just, we're gonna inquire with our staff to see if they'd be interested, because there's been talk about changing it, but we've had a flat rate from Delta Dental for years. So,
I love it.
so.
Looking at adding orthodontics to the
Yeah.
plan. And we're gonna survey staff to see if that's something that we
And we
want.
have done that a while back, and it just depends who your staff is and.
Right.
It's-
Age is a big deal.
Yeah, so, sorry, Donna.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So,
So yes, we were floored, when
Oh, the
he, when he
renewal?
said
Yeah.
going from like, so that was fantastic.
So we don't have to look at a consortium yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yet,
Okay.
yet.
motion to approve, is there a second?
Second,
Any more discussion?
Dana.
Yeah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 12, consider approval of non-resident pupils 2024-25 school year open enrollment applications.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
We're plus 10. I think it was plus 10.
Yeah.
That's what I counted.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean they're for sure going to come, it's
Right.
just saying they
Application.
should
Right.
have something on there.
Applications.
Yeah. Doesn't mean they're also.
I do
same
wanna
number as
make
leaving.
note on the one, does anyone happen to have that open? I was gonna have that open quick, and unfortunately, I didn't.
Oh, I had it, but.
Open enrollment,
One that listed three
the
times,
open
3 different
enrollment
schools.
in, which grade? Let me get there really quick for you. If you'll note that,
Is it
it was
line
a
20?
grade 8. that there's a possibility of an IEP next year.
Right.
So, I talked to Mrs. Nee prior to the meeting and asking her, you know, can we set a stipulation that should the student attend here and is,
If she exceeds our cap, then
well, cause our special ed numbers are 0. So if she would qualify for special education, she would have to go back to her home district.
correct. Right, that's line 20 on the spreadsheet.
Yep, I see.
Yeah.
So do we wanna make note of that somehow? And I don't know, but if there's that kind of a,
I don't know if that needs to be approved in the
Well, I
motion.
mean, it would automatically be enforced.
I don't know if it's an
is-
automatic
because
or,
it's
or,
But we set the cap and then we can make that decision. We've set the cap.
okay. Just so you're aware that that is.
I mean, approved as
Presented.
presented now, because that would change how it's
Right.
presented.
Right.
So
Mhm.
we could approve it as presented to us at this point.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Next item is consider approval of 24-25 Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative.
Motion is requested to maintain membership in this cooperative, which gives us buying power in our food services program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
Just a nice big group. Was it 39? It was quite a few.
In the cooperative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item, consider approval of 24-25 breakfast, lunch, and milk prices.
Moved.
Second.
When, if I may.
Yep.
When the motion, when the memo was sent, the recommendation was brought forward to me for a 10-cent increase. Since the memo went out, the request came to me to table this until June.
Oh.
So, if a request is made to rescind the motion,
Okay.
Move to table.
Thank you.
thank you.
We have to vote.
Second, I guess we have to second.
All we have to do is second the table.
Okay,
So
so,
once it's seconded, then we're done.
yep, motion is
So I
tabled.
seconded.
All right. Take that up next month.
Yes.
Next item, consider approval of student transportation list for 2024-25.
Moved.
Second.
Thanks, Lisa, for the clarification.
Yes, you're welcome.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item, consider approval of 2024-25 4K program location.
As I mentioned in my memo, I was recently contacted by some stakeholders of the Port Edwards YMCA building. And they have some concerns about some safety issues in that building. And they have made the request to have our 4K students come over here and be educated here in our elementary building. And I'm going to bring forward that recommendation that we do so. Here tonight is Matt Lund. He's the president and CEO of the Southwood County YMCA. Matt, I walked through the building with Matt and another gentleman on Monday morning, and they showed me some of the issues facing that building. And what was proposed was there are some issues there now. They are not endangering the students at this time, but this is a proactive move to move students out of the building for next fall. In case there are future issues, but there currently are none in the 4K classroom over there. With that, I'll turn the table over to Mr. Lund, if you have anything further you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys letting me come here tonight and talk a little bit about this. I know there's been a lot of people asking questions, a lot of conversation, and I'm here tonight to answer any questions you might have. But specifically for right now, talking about 4K, is that as we look at the why and as we look at our locations that we have in the communities that we serve, we have a 70-year-old building, 70-plus-year-old building. And as many of you know, we built a brand new Y in Rapids, and we are now at a point where we're evaluating what we do with the current property that's there, here in Port. And so as a committee gets together and we have conversations and tours of the facilities, is that it's apparent that it is aging very quickly. And that's when we wanted to invite the district over to say, hey, here's some things that are coming up as concerned, again, being proactive about it and making sure that we are doing what is, at this point, really safe for the kids. There's nothing unsafe right now, just to be clear about that. It's more of a, for us, we have about a dozen kids in the program. During the summer, it slows down to 4 to 5 kids, and it comes down to a sustainability factor as well. And so knowing that the district has an interest in it, this could be another way to have the kids come back into the district. We feel right now this would be a good time to transition as we continue to discuss what's going to happen with that facility and that land there. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions, whether it's about the 4K program or about the Y, if you have any.
There's no definite long-range plan set in stone right now for that building?
Yeah, so right now, the committee, so I've been here for about a year. I've been with the Y for 15 years. I've been the CEO of Fielder Ys. But being now a year into the position, being able to really get into the things that I need to look into is, this is a number one priority for me, is putting a committee together, which we just formed. And this committee, the first thing we did was go take a tour. And we got quite a few of the stakeholders within Nakusa Port and Rapids area, a lot of people that grew up going to that Y, and we wanted to give them the opportunity to come in and have a voice and really say, hey, here's what we need or don't need, or here's what I'd like to see. And so that committee's been formed. We took the tour, and that's where we are right now. So there's no definite, hey, here's what we're going to do. The one thing is that we do know we want to keep a presence within the community. We just don't know what it's going to look like yet. Whether it's building a new facility or building something that may better meet the facility there. The one thing I can tell you as far as the facility itself, the main building, not the youth building behind it, we had some contractors come in about 1.5 years ago and just doing a quick walkthrough, we were already about $3.5–4 million just to make improvements. And that's not to give us anything more than what we currently had. That's repairing the roof, HVAC, doing some of the floors, just getting the building really up to date. And so when you start talking about $3, $4, $5 million for basic improvements, now you start looking at what a capital campaign of building a new facility of 11 million or 15 million, and what that capital campaign would look like. So there's all kinds of things we're considering. We just don't know the depth of it yet. And we're hoping that here in the next, the time limit that we put on it was 6 months. Once the committee was formed and active, is that by 6 months we would have something in place. Yes, sir.
When I was on the village board a few years ago, the board met with your predecessor.
Okay.
Because with that time, we were debating the closure or the long-term viability of that facility when we put the splash pad around the corner from you. Your predecessor made it known that there was strong inclinations about keeping that facility open as long as possible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention that there seemed to be a potential correlation that the Alexander Foundation, who built that originally, gave a large contribution that allowed you to go forward with the construction in the present facility in Wisconsin Rapids the weekend after, or the week after. Which I have a feeling the Alexander family and the foundation itself has an interest in maintaining that building. So I would hope that that would be a consideration long-term, because I'm in that facility 4 or 5 times a week myself. So, and I do know that we had a leak in the weight room.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, yeah.
It can be a swimming pool if the storm's big enough. We know.
I also did have some comments or questions about what was going on as far as the outside maintenance of the building, because things tended to get overgrown, lights out and not replaced, stuff like that.
Parking lot.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I would hope that something could be done to work it in. I mean, if I have to go to Wisconsin Rapids, I will, but it's gonna really be a hindrance to me because I have very limited time. I can pop over from my house, use the facility and pop back in an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas add a half hour each way to get into Rapids by the time you get through traffic and such.
So, one of the members on the committee that we want to make sure we invited was Leslie Arndt, who is the director of who's currently now the director of the Alexander Family Foundation.
Okay,
And so we want to make sure we got a strong representative from the family on that. We obviously want to be very respectful because of the Alexander name and what they've done for the community. And that's why we want to try to do our best to make sure we maintain a presence here and serve this community the best that we can. And so that's why we invited the individuals that we have on there. Rob Sigler is another one.
Okay.
Mike Bovey, who is with the Legacy Foundation, he's another one. So there are some really main key people from the area who have a strong passion for that area, but also the community that have a voice on this committee. And so I can tell you just some of the basic facts of where we are right now is that we know that the building is in rough shape. We put this committee together to try to make a quick decision. The building costs us about $150,000 a year just to have open. We obviously don't make it, it's not sustainable on its own, so we need to make a faster decision on the financial aspects. But we also don't want something bad to happen. We don't want the roof to cave in because of a leak, and things like that we need to make sure that we're being responsible. And so, again, the committee was formed to make sure we keep a focus. And, we're hoping that with the individuals that we have on the committee, that they'll be able to bring in that good feedback, but they're also some of the key people that can help bring some of that money to help with building a new facility, if that's the direction that it goes. But again, right now, we're just in the start of this, and nothing has been made yet as far as any decisions. We just want to make sure that we address the 4K just because on a sustainability factor and also what makes most sense. The program has dropped down, and the school would do just much better with having it come back into the school district.
Another question maybe for Jim. Do we have the space here?
We would find the space,
Is it-
we would probably move a few, teachers around, a few classrooms around, it may have to happen, but we would sit down and we would, I'd work with staff to find out what's the best plan for the majority of the people. We would make the space. Yeah, this building has held a lot more students than it currently does. We would make it happen.
And I would offer out, if anybody would like a tour of the facility, please set it up with them. I'm more than happy to show up and walk you through to show you kind of where it's at.
Yeah.
I'm always open to that. You'll find with me is I am very transparent about what's happening, and that's why we want to make sure that we get the right people at the table. So, you got a question?
Is there anybody on this committee representing the school district?
No, but that's why we reached out to make sure that we are keeping in close contact.
I guess, given the fact that we're your client in terms of using that facility, I guess I would have thought that when this committee was formed, somebody from your end would have talked to somebody on our end and had a representative. And I'm glad that you reached out to Mr. Vina, but I wish that would have been from the get-go. So.
Are there any other questions for me?
Any other? Oh, guess not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lund has left his business card if you'd like to get in contact with him. Thank you. Yeah.
So,
Motion is requested to
Yeah.
have the 4K program become a part of the school district and be housed here.
I have a question. The way this agenda item is listed, it says approval of 4K program location. Are we addressing, this motion addresses just the physical location of the program. It does not address the ownership or the pay or the qualifications of the instructor.
Details of the personnel are in a later agenda item.
Okay,
Yes.
I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
alright, there's a motion from Kathy. I'll second the motion. Any other discussion?
I just want to say that I'm glad that we can bring the 4K back to our building. I just wish we could build on an addition so that we could have the wraparound daycare as part of it, because I don't know for a fact, but I'm afraid that parents that are sending their children to our 4K program they have, unless they are, stay-at-home parents, they need wraparound daycare. So I don't know, I don't want to lose potential students because they can't come here because we don't have wraparound daycare. And I don't know, when they put the money tree in the back, we'll build that on and have wraparound daycare. And I know that we would love to have that for our staff. We have a lot of parents of young children that could use that. So,
I think we'll definitely be looking into the scheduling and see what we can do. I feel like it'd be much more detrimental if we went the other direction and said, no, we won't host the 4K here.
Right, cause then we would lose them all
We would
together.
lose all kinds of families then.
Right.
So I think we'll take a smaller issue and try to manage that
Step
versus,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
versus saying, no, we won't house them.
And of course, Kathy, it's not like the state has any billions of dollars just sitting there
Right.
unused.
Cough it up. That's what I say.
Mr. Duncan, they used it yesterday. It's a rainy day fund. Yesterday was the rainy.
We thought it would be coming yesterday.
Sorry, bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah,
there's the old joke about, don't tell me after that
yes, I know
it's
the
just
joke.
raining.
I know the joke, yes.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the 24-25 4K program location being here? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Next item, consider approval of 24-25 John Edwards Middle School, High School Principal.
I so move.
Second,
Second?
Gladly.
Amen.
Gladly, but sadly.
double second there.
No, you had it first.
That's okay. Whichever.
Approve it before he changes his mind.
Be careful what you wish for.
Alright. With that, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Alright, congratulations, Shane.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Next up is discussion and consider approval of paid time off.
Okay, I would like to thank Ms. Moore and Mr. Burnell for sharing your input tonight. That's greatly valued and spoken from the heart. Thank you so much for sharing that. This was an issue, of course, that came up about 2 years ago when I first came aboard. This was brought forward to me by our leadership as a hot button issue, so to speak. And we started addressing it last fall. Of course, I won't get into an in-depth history lesson, but the idea of having staff come and make requests to the school board for unpaid time off was the direction we went. And we've gotten through this school year with that procedure. It's had a few challenges in the idea to revisit it later this spring, and that's where we are right now. We're revisiting it. Right after we came back from spring break, I did send an email out to our staff, and I told them that we would be revisiting this as a board, and I asked for input. I said, what would you like to see? What do you think would work best? And I think if we have a spectrum, the spectrum may be our current situation now where we have 10 sick days and 2 personal days. And I heard maybe the other end of the spectrum as well of 12 PTO days, all, PTO, it's paid time off. You do not have to indicate if it's sick or not, you get 12 days. And there are different variations in between. And as Ms. Moore mentioned, I do want to share these ideas. I did not send them out in a paper form, but I did have one person tell me the idea, they felt best practice was to revert back to a previous district policy by which non-emergency time off could only be granted once every 3 years. Okay, that was one of the thoughts. A few people said, let's convert half of our current sick days to flex days, our PTO days, whereas we would have 6 sick and 6 PTO. That's kind of in the middle of the spectrum. That's a little bit of a balance. That gives our employees a little more flexibility when they're taking time off, okay? And then as I mentioned, kind of on the other end of the spectrum, a couple of people said, why don't we convert all of our 12 days to paid time off days? Just a little bit of local flavor, that is what the Pittsville School District went to this year, our neighbor to the west. Jason Knott, their superintendent, he spoke to our CWC superintendents last Wednesday at our meeting in Kashina. He was doing cartwheels about the idea. He said that employees loved it. He said overall, his employees loved it. He said it's working very well in Pittsville, and he says he has very specific, strong data saying that it did not increase the number of days that were taken extra.
And that's what plan?
That is the 12 PTO days.
12 PTO days.
I'm not recommending that.
Shifting everything to PTO.
Yes, I'm not
That's
recommending that to our
Pittsville's
board, but that is happening very close to us. We did a straw poll during this conversation. This was an agenda item of the 21 CWC superintendents. How many people have some PTO or all PTO? It was about 4 or 5 schools. How many people either have it or are considering increasing their PTO time for more flexibility? 12 to 15 of the 21 are having this conversation right now or have it in place. So I think as Ms. Moore mentioned in her comments, this is happening all over, okay?
Question right now, is there banking of sick days? Okay, so any increase or anything that we would deviate from, I mean, like if we're giving all PTO, we're not gonna give 12 days that you can bank. There'd be a cap on the that you can bank. We're all in agreement on that point?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, when I first came on, and John was on at the time, but we had a big problem with a prior administrator who had a tendency to wield out authorizations for personal days on a whim that caused all kinds of grievances and problems and such. And so, and then we had a very fluid policy on bereavement. And so in the contract, I pushed and we had a block. We didn't make any designation as far as bereavement. We didn't make any designation regarding paid time off. We blocked them. And you had that many and that was it. So I don't know where that fell into the place or when that dissipated or what, or how it got changed through the years, but I thought that was the most fair way because quite frankly, in this day and age with bereavement, what is a family?
I don't recall that ever changing in my time.
This would have been like the first year I was on.
It's specified in like close
Right, but I'm talking like to Don and I who have been here forever and a day. It didn't change. I don't think so either.
It was the
It was
first year we
always
were in the
bereavement.
contract,
The
yeah,
bereavement leave.
yep. We put it in that we just kind of combined it all
It's been
because,
grandparents, as long as I've known.
yeah,
it's
because
child.
I hate that, because, you know, I
And that's
mean,
not
you
where the
have,
problem
you
is, to be honest.
yeah, I know,
Truly,
but I mean,
that's
it's,
not where-
I,
where's the
I would
problem.
like to explore that as long as we're taking all the paid time off too, because how many times do you have it like, well, you know, my stepfather died.
Right.
Well, okay, it's not in the list, but the stepfather has raised me since I was 3 years old.
Correct.
But you can
And-
take sick.
Yeah, you can.
That's what I think you
use that.
changed. It
Okay.
never used to be, but now you
Yeah,
can.
you can,
Okay.
if it's not on
Yes.
the list, you're welcome to use personal days and, you know.
And sick
or-
days, okay.
And sick
Sick
days.
days.
And that's how it was
That's at the
ultimately
That's
structured.
how it was,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Discretion of
That's,
the
yeah,
administration.
Yeah.
that is.
Because families and what constitutes a
Absolutely.
family has changed so
Right.
much
Yep.
through the time that it's just ridiculous to go through that whole process anymore. Alright, so that being said, boy,
What I would like to see us do, I guess I think I would like to get to something that's a little more clean, whatever that is. Take the subjectivity out of it. I feel like we have had to entertain requests, when I say we, the board did this year, that could be quite challenging. Could be very challenging,
Wasn't it?
right? Make it more objective. Here's the rule, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I agree,
And if you do A, this is what it's going to be, and if it's B, this is what it's going to be. So it's very clear for employer and employee.
how much is the exact number of days that we have to be in class?
175 in class, 189
189 day
day
contract. Yeah.
Okay, so in essence, what we're doing is we're already giving more than 10% of your time off for sick days.
Well, it's 12 out of 189,
10.
Right.
yeah, 10,
10 and then 2%.
10
Yeah.
plus 2.
Can this be tabled so we can discuss it some more, because I
Yeah,
think we
this
need,
should be in closed session,
yeah,
because
yeah.
this should be
I think we need
presented
to.
to the staff.
I would be very, very interested in hearing the Pittsfield superintendent's data about how he believes that by providing 12 PTO days in lieu of sick day it hasn't impacted his absences. I mean, if that's the case, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm all for giving people options.
I was a little floored when I heard that myself, because I
But,
would think if you get 12 vacation days, you know, who's not gonna take those?
I guess, maybe I'm old and cranky,
Yeah, but that's neither here nor here.
That aside.
but I mean, I taught, I was a classroom teacher for 34 years. Not once, not one stinking time in more than a third of a century did I ever take a vacation during the school year. I got sick. I got married and took 2 personal days and a convention break. And that was it. Not once. Now, maybe the world has changed and maybe people nowadays think that as educators, you can have the flexibility that people in other professions have, and maybe that's good. But, when you sign up for this job, you have an obligation to the district and you have an obligation to these kids. And I'm sorry, but if they don't have to carry you out of here with your hands and legs tied over a stick, you need to be here. You need to be doing your job. And if you're gonna go skiing, or you're going to Disney World, or you're going to Hawaii, or some other wonderful place, this is fine. But you do that June to August, or you do it during the breaks that you have. That's one of the unique peculiarities of this profession and this job. It has a lot of pluses, it has a lot of advantages. I don't regret my career choice for a second. But I have a big deal problem with people who think they can just waltz out in the middle of January, a week before the end of the semester, and go off on a sojourn somewhere, because that's not your option. If you work in another profession, yes. Here, no. I'm sorry, I agree with you 150%. Good job.
I think I'm dovetailing Leo, but I wanna just frame the question. Okay, for my office, I have no problems in giving greater level, some vacation, time off, et cetera. Because the work gets done filling in for people. And if it doesn't get done, it eventually gets done because it gets caught up when the person comes back, et cetera.
Different profession.
Different area completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even law, or when I was on the village board, I pushed to have greater vacation for our new officers because it was a big incentive to hire, and if they weren't working, when the village doesn't have an officer on duty, the sheriff covers. So it didn't cost us anything to get paid time off. Now, in this particular case, the impact is not on the students and necessarily always the staff covering and all that. It's on the continuity of the product. It's the detriment of the educational process going on and what's in that classroom when the teacher is absent. I would assume things have not changed, and I'm not going to admit that I was one of those perpetrators who made life hell for substitute teachers. I'm sure if you went to my high school reunion, you'd hear stories, but anyway.
Mrs. Schroden, I never visit substitute teachers' classrooms, never.
Yeah,
Occasionally,
anyway,
occasionally.
but that's what we're talking about. And so this is not, if this was anything else, whatever, vacation's fine, it doesn't cost us money. It doesn't work that way here, and I'm saying that just for public consumption. I think we need to sit down and put our heads together and figure out how this is gonna work. But quite frankly, after our little problem before where it was time taken off without bothering to even come to us, I'm fed up with it. And I don't care. I mean, I'll be blunt. If people are upset with me, I'm up for election next year. I don't care. I got plenty to do.
I think the consensus is we wanna table this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is next month, is that all right?
You need a motion.
I
we need
move,
a motion.
I move to
Definitely.
table.
Yeah, to table and, here, how do you do this? Table for,
Well,
can we
table,
yeah.
move to table to put it into closed session for
If you don't
discussion?
move on it, it just gets tabled.
yeah, just,
You don't have to move on anything.
Okay, and then we can
John
put it in
request-
that.
John can request to have it on the
Okay,
agenda.
that's true, alright,
We
Yeah.
can't do it for tonight.
correct.
No,
No,
not
No.
No,
in June.
All right.
no, cause you have to advertise it.
I need a
We're
second
waiting.
on the
Kathy
table,
made the motion.
I'll second.
Yeah,
and that's all.
Can I ask
Right?
Dana,
one thing?
okay.
Jen, Steve, you spoke in more or less in accordance with what my feelings seem to be, I think, if I'm interpreting what you're saying right. In the course of going through this a month from now, or over the course of the end of the school year, into the June board meeting, I don't know, is there any kind of vehicle that we could create, a survey document, a website, something that would allow staff members to chime in, like you described about what your survey showed? I'd be curious to see what more of the details of your results were. If most of the staff feel like you do, okay, if there's a wide disparity in terms of what people now think is appropriate for this profession and its personal time, well then, we need to know that, because I'm old and curmudgeonly and I wanna
But
make
that
sure
might
that I
not, that
wanna
might
make.
not affect our decision though,
No.
even knowing that.
No.
I know, but
I know.
I wanna know that upfront
Then,
before I
then
make a decision.
they have an opportunity, any staff member who has some significant or ideas about that can come to the meeting and present it to us. The ultimate decision is going to be this board's, period.
Yes, I have no question about that. I'm just personally curious about hearing what, we heard from two people. I would like to hear if there are people coming
Well,
from another
can
position.
two
Well, I am
related
here
people
because of that, and I was told it was a typo.
You were told what?
It was a typo, and then it should be unpaid leave.
No,
yeah, I made that comment, but then I came back, we really shouldn't be having dialogue right now, but I can talk to you after the meeting. I went back to Lisa and it's just how we were looking at it. We're looking at it as the time off and then what we would do with the unpaid time off. So it's a clarification
I would
piece.
have spoken to it also because I had a concern, so I can entertain that conversation afterwards.
Yeah, and you have the chance to speak in June as well.
Okay.
Absolutely, cause it was tabled. But,
Yes.
I mean,
you know, to that point, I guess Leo, I did ask for input and I
Right.
got it from a small portion of the staff. But it's easy enough to create a Google survey and whoever chooses to respond to it, you know, we may get more people if it's a Google
So
survey.
the results you got in your request were not the majority of the staff?
Oh, not even close.
Oh, well
No.
then, all right,
Handful.
then that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
If you offered an opportunity and they did not avail themselves of it, okay, well then, when you fail to make a decision, you make a decision. Okay, I'm fine.
I would recommend, if I can, that survey went out, there were some questions, you're right, a lot of people didn't respond. And then a lot of people in my building came to me for individual conversations. So it's up to you, but I think if you put it back out there, a little bit worded different, or this is, you know, like a discussion. I would like to tell those staff, please respond, or go to Mr. Bina, or go to the board. Because at that point, when they came to me, I wasn't sure what they were proposing or anything, and they misunderstood that a little bit, I think.
Okay.
They had so I did have, besides Ms. Moore and Mr. for about 5 or 6 staff members.
Okay,
So,
Which is about what I got too.
Real quick,
So 12 out of 80.
would anybody object to hearing Kristen's, views on this? Cause I'd like to hear as many opinions as
sure,
possible.
absolutely.
So
If you
John.
want.
We're still on the
John.
discussion, yeah, that's fine,
We haven't,
Yeah.
voted on it yet, so.
so that's fine, if she wants.
Well, I had more concerns about it because I know at one point in the contract, as what Jen alluded to, is that every 3 years you could request this time off. And I think that is a good way to go. I didn't know this could be paid time off and not sick days, but that's part of how Act 10 and negotiations have kind of limited those conversations. So mine were more concerning, and then moving forward into if it's 12 PTO days, what happens then to staff that have 80 days banked from years prior? Are those
Kristen, if
honored?
I can interrupt
we've had
there,
those conversations.
that is my concern right there is if I have any say, I want something that's going to not disrupt what we already have in place, because it's not fair to suddenly say we don't accumulate sick days anymore. So that's my point of view, and that's my concern. So I wanna make sure, anything I have to say is, I don't want that to happen. So if you go to 12 days and say there's, you have
We all
12 every day,
start on a
choo-choo-choo.
clean slate.
Yeah, and
That's not honoring
so,
staff.
Mr. Bean and I have talked a lot about it.
We've talked about that
There's about
extensively.
some
Yeah.
ideas that would not impact those
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, we've talked about that extensively.
So I do think there's a better way to have conversation about it, and when you did, I did go back to the email, cause I know you requested that we did that, but I thought it was viewed as maybe what Donna is saying, like, how do we ask for unpaid time off, and what are the solutions and conversation surrounding that, and not switching it completely from 10 sick days to personal days to a bank of, or even half and half. So I think that's where,
Another survey.
Sure. I got
My
a lot
questions
of,
were-
well, I got some feedback speaking specifically to that question, but others must have. Yep, we can put out a Google survey about that.
Steve,
Absolutely.
So speaking as a younger staff member, I don't take off much time, period. My job is to be in my classroom, and I'm not taking off unless it's an emergency or if I'm at a conference, and that's a completely different ballpark, that's professional. My accrued days are right near 80 to 100, very easily. And there is a cap of days
105.
and that you can take off. Now, once I hit that cap, what stops me from just taking off time because I have to spend it, right? Well, obviously, that's not the type of person I am. However, that being said, I would like to be rewarded for being in class every day. And the way I think that I could be rewarded is by saying, okay, this year you can cash out 30 of those sick days at X dollars. And let's say it's $100, okay? How much does it cost to bring a sub in and my time that I've already been paid for? So you're looking at $200 a day that we bring in a sub. So if I cash out $100 at the end of the year because I want the money, being a young guy, I mean, looking at it down the road, I'm gonna always have sick time built up. So I think for younger teachers, that might be a option, that might be viable to say, okay, we have a cash out program where you can cash out your personal time, which is currently the case, I believe, right?
Right.
And then also your sick time, however many days you wanna do.
And, you know, the one thing do keep in mind, I think the intentions of the board many years ago had the accumulation of days is because things happen in life that we don't expect.
Correct.
Okay? People say, well, I can take FMLA. FMLA is not gonna pay you.
Yep.
You know, and if you don't have any sick days and you need to take 6 weeks off, cause maybe you gotta have whatever done.
Yep.
God forbid, but you do need to have, you know, that is the reason. Do I
Correct.
understand where you're coming from as far as the, you know, being rewarded for doing that? I think that's something that could be part of the discussion.
And yeah, and that's my feeling is, especially for somebody who doesn't take off time, I'm losing hundreds of dollars a year by not taking off. Once I hit that cap. So, I mean,
In there.
I'd rather be in class
Yes.
and everything, but it'd be also nice to have a little bit of kickback as well.
Well, that shows value to your consistency and to your dedication to your job as well.
We'll talk
Okay.
about all this.
We've got a lot of discussion.
Yes.
Revisit this, yeah, we do have a motion and a second.
Yep, we do.
That's all we need,
That's all we
right?
need.
Oh, we that's what we.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
That's right.
so that is table. Two of them table.
You know, Ms.
Yeah.
P showed up, I don't know if she wants to come.
Good Mrs.
Tammy's
D
back
and
to
Miss
school,
P.
I'll just tell her.
Miss P, you were Mrs. D.
She did
Is that
a great
okay?
job as.
She was Miss P.
Okay,
President, I didn't even know to turn into closed session.
So moved.
yeah, there's a motion to move into closed session. Dana.
Second.
All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in closed session.
We'll be back.
It is 30.
A young guy. Oh, you so watch the video back, because I may have been getting at that point.